Bien, bonjour à tous. Avant de commencer sur notre sujet, sur la démocratie et les élections, un petit rappel simplement de méthode quant à la rédaction de vos essais. Je suis revenu un petit peu sur les choses que vous avez écrites au concours blanc et même au devoir d'avant, que je n'ai pas pu vous rendre non plus. Vous avez tendance à faire trop simple. Attention à ne pas faire trop simple quand vous écrivez. On attend un petit peu plus que un essai, une expression écrite de fin de terminale, de baccalauréat, d'accord. Par exemple, un des sujets de cet ancien devoir maintenant était Is being an influencer a real job? Bon. Concrètement, vous ou n'importe quel étudiant qui passait les concours, votre avis là-dessus, on s'en moque. C'est ça que vous devez vraiment garder en tête. Et surtout, la question que l'on vous pose, ce n'est pas exactement la question à laquelle vous devez répondre, bien sûr. Vous devez reformuler. On vous le dit depuis longtemps. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? On va essayer de préciser rapidement une nouvelle fois. Vous avez une question qui s'apparente à une yes-no question. Is it a real job? Oui, c'en est un, non, c'en est pas. Ce ne sont pas les réponses auxquelles on aspire, auxquelles vous devez aspirer. On vous donne une formule qui doit vous paraître un petit peu provocante, qui est real job, un vrai métier. Y aurait-il des faux métiers? Bon, ça c'est une première piste. Du coup, on peut se demander à partir de là, qu'est-ce qu'un vrai métier? D'accord, vous êtes des étudiants d'économie et de sociologie, des étudiants de maths aussi, mais vous avez un bagage économique. Alors qu'est-ce que c'est un vrai métier? Est-ce qu'on doit produire quelque chose de concret? Est-ce qu'on doit forcément avoir un employeur? Est-ce que la définition ne changerait pas selon les époques? D'accord? Par exemple, est-ce que cette digital revolution, cette révolution du numérique, est-ce qu'elle ne s'apparenterait pas à une révolution, à la même type de révolution que quand on est passé d'une ère industrielle à une ère de services, etc. Bon. Est-ce qu'il faut forcément un diplôme, des qualifications? Ou est-ce que certains skills sont suffisants pour être influenceur, pour être un travailleur lambda? On peut parler de notion de freelancers ou de self-employed workers, puisque en général, les influenceurs sont des self-employed workers, des freelancers. Donc, voilà les questions que l'on vous pose en réalité quand on vous dit Is being an influencer a real job? Alors, vous avez les exemples. Je vous rappelle, en priorité, c'est la langue avant les exemples. La langue, d'abord, on fait une copie correcte, donc des phrases simples si on a un peu de mal, ou on se cherche un style un peu intéressant si on a plus de facilité. La langue d'abord. En deux, le plan, l'argumentation, bien sûr. Et en trois, enfin, les exemples. D'accord? Donc, gardons ça en tête, passons à notre question du jour. On va passer en anglais, on va s'intéresser à des questions de démocratie, un sujet qui peut être formulé de plusieurs façons différentes, mais qui est très en vogue en ce moment, depuis quelques années. Je l'ai formulé ainsi aujourd'hui. Do elections still matter? Est-ce que ça a encore de l'importance, les élections? Les élections, le fait de voter, etc. Est-ce que ça importe? Do elections still matter? First, we can open our discussion by saying that in December 2019, in the United Kingdom, in the UK, the British citizens had to vote in a general election. Okay, so they had to decide for new representatives, local representatives. They had to discuss that to make up their mind and vote. And in the end, with all the new and re-elected politicians, there could have been a new prime minister at the head of the government. So that's interesting because it seems that people want change in politics. They want new faces. They want change. And what was interesting was that in the UK, in December, it was the third general election in less than 4 years. Third election in less than 4 years. So you can say, yeah, okay, can think that it's a democracy that works. there is a very, very frequent democratic renewal. But you can also analyze that as a massive and very, very important case of political instability. No government is able to stay in charge for longer than a year. So, is it positive? Is it negative? Well, now that we said that, we can just look at the facts in the world, and especially in the English-speaking world, of course. As I said, people constantly say that they want change and efficiency in politics. Change because the people that you see each time there is an election, the people in charge in political parties, what we can call the political elite, well, they are in charge, they have been in charge forever now. And they are sometimes perceived as being incompetent, corrupt, and sometimes just untrustworthy. You can think for the untrustworthiness, you can think and you can talk about Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson announced in 2015 that he would support the leaving of the EU, okay, that he would support Brexit, that he was a Brexiter. But a few days before he announced his position, his opinion, he wrote another article, a first article, in which he said that it was stupid to leave the EU. He wrote it, and then he saw the opinion polls, and he decided not to publish the article, and instead he wrote a new article saying that it would be important and interesting and massive benefit for the UK to leave. So he changed his mind on a very sensitive topic in a few days. He was just testing the waters, okay? He was just trying to judge if the political opinion of the country was on one side or on the other. So, politicians are untrustworthy, incompetent, sometimes corrupt. So people want change, new faces. But they also want efficiency. And what is the consequence? What are the consequences of all that? Well, first, there is a rise of populism, okay, and I refer you to our December lesson on populism. You have a PDF file somewhere. It leads to ultranationalism and a rise of the demagogues, and also the phenomenon of mass abstention. So people refuse to go vote for the old faces, and they decide to go for the more radical faces and more radical opinions. Okay, that's nothing new, you know that. And also there is another phenomenon in the results of these elections. There seems to be, at least in Europe, but also in the USA, there seems to be disappearance of centrist parties. Okay, central left, central right, they are losing their influence. So, do elections still matter? Well, first, people don't go to vote. So, elections are no longer the assessment of the country's political mind, okay? But there are more reasons than that for the mass abstention or the populism. Some people feel that they are being cheated. For example, it's a classic example in the American presidential election in 2016. It seems that once again the American people realized that their presidential election was not a direct election, it was an indirect election, and that a candidate with 3 million votes more than her opponent could lose, because people don't vote for president, they vote for an electoral college. And so people think, well, if I don't go to vote, it doesn't change anything, because my vote doesn't count in the end. Okay? So some people feel cheated, and they feel like the political institutions are no longer up to date. So that's a problem. Then, if we stay in the USA, there's a new trend at the moment among Republican governors and Republican legislators in the States. Some African Americans feel denied their right to vote. Why? Because if we take a look at the demographics of the USA, what we used to call minorities are becoming the majority. And the Republicans know very well that these people tend to vote for the Democrats. So there are two possibilities there. The first one, you can try to make these people vote for you. That's difficult. So the other possibility is to prevent them from voting, to make it impossible for them to vote. You can take the example of the march in Selma, Alabama in 1965, when Martin Luther King Jr. Marched in Alabama. It was to protest against the very same phenomenon in Selma. 2% of the citizens who could vote, only 2% were African Americans. But in the city, the majority of people were African Americans. So there was a problem of political representation, and that was what fueled the march. Okay. Today, the Supreme Court changed the decision. Well, when I say today, it's in 2013. In 2013, the Supreme Court of the USA changed the decision that was made after the 1965 march. That is, nowadays, the states can change the rules about who can vote and who can't vote. And so they decided to close voting polls in areas with a majority of African Americans. They also decided to purge the list of the people who could vote. That is, if you did not vote in previous elections, well, you cannot vote in the future. Okay? They make it impossible for people to vote because they organize the voting in weekdays, during weekdays, not on Sundays like it is the case in France, for example. And so you need to vote after you work. And when you have 2 or 3 jobs, it may be difficult. So it's targeted against the poor people, against all the citizens who could vote in favor of the Democrats. So yes, some African Americans are feeling like they are banned from voting. Okay, a return to segregation in the US. So that's another problem. Okay. Also, you can mention Cambridge Analytica, the scandal Cambridge Analytica scandal, which was revealed by The Guardian, the British newspaper, but it is an American scandal because, as you know, and I won't be long on that, as you know, some people in the Trump campaign decided to collect data from Facebook, to steal the data of private people, of private individuals like you and me, steal the data and try to build profiles on who you are, who we are. And then when they analyze and when they know who you are, who you vote for, etc., who your friends are, they can offer you targeted advertisement to influence you. So that was a recent scandal, and that's a way to cheat on elections. And that's why you can say, well, it doesn't matter, because in the end we don't decide if people make the decisions for us. And so you can also think, it's not here on the board, but you can also think about the Russian interference in American elections, of course. If a foreign government illegally gives money to some political parties to win elections, it's not fair. It's not the decision of the people, okay? So, do elections still matter? It seems that they don't. But it's interesting to add a positive note to this debate. In 2019, in Sudan, the country changed from being an authoritarian regime to a democracy. And the same is happening this year in Ethiopia. So, some countries are still aiming for being a democracy. They're aiming at becoming a democracy. Why? Why is it still attractive if there are so many problems again and again and again? Well, and that could be the conclusion there. Let's think about the famous Winston Churchill quote on democracy. He said, and I quote, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others." Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. It's a very famous quote, but it's still quite interesting because, well, what does it mean? Well, there are a lot of problems in democracies all over the world. People think that they don't work. But do we know a better solution? Do we know a better solution? Maybe not. Okay? So, as you can see now that we've discussed a question, did I answer it? Well, yes and no. Do elections still matter? I didn't say, well, in conclusion, my opinion is that they don't, and we should stop No, I didn't say that. And I didn't say, well, yes, they matter because they are the only convincing form of government that we know of. I didn't say that. What you need to do is answer another question. Why does someone ask me that? Why is it a question? Why is it important? Why is it relevant? Do elections still matter? Why am I being asked this question? Well, so when you see a question like this, you must think, well, do they still matter? Maybe they don't. Why wouldn't they matter? Oh yes, because there are many flaws, many problems. what are the reasons for that? And you go back to the root of the problem when you do that. And in the end, you don't say in your conclusion that elections matter or they don't. You say, well, as Winston Churchill said, it's the worst form of government. There are many problems, but we don't know better solutions, and that's why many countries still wish to become democracies today. Many people in the world would like to live in a democracy. So there must be something appealing, okay? That's what is asked in essays. That's what you should do, okay? I'll leave you to that, and I'm also sending you a version, okay, translation work to do. I would like to do it for next week, okay? So, the schedule for this week, I'm sending you this video today, and I would like to do a live on YouTube on Friday at 2, okay? From 2 in the afternoon to 3:30, I guess, in which we would correct the text I sent you a week ago, 10 days ago, the US of Amazon, okay? And we'll try to continue with this type of videos, I think. So one video every week, like this one on civilization, and one live video in which we would translate and correct translation work. Alright? I leave you to that, and if you have any question, of course, feel free to ask them on the WhatsApp group, okay? Make it something living. I know math is your priority right now, but listen to some English, do some philosophy or anything else. Don't do only math, okay? And ask questions on the WhatsApp group, that's important. I'll leave you to that. Goodbye.